Welcome to On the Chain with Jeff and Chip.
All right. Hey, this is Jeff with On the Chain. Here we are at the Roundtable here with co-host Chip. And today we have two amazing guests with us. We have Coining203 and Sergeant Obi Wan. Welcome, both of you guys. We're really, really happy to have you guys on with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, hey, Chip, man, we've got so much to talk about today. I'm sure you have the first topic that you want to go over. We're going to go through this and do a speed round of a couple great topics. Do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I want to kick it off. I mean, guys, thanks for being here. It's so cool to finally, can I say finally? I think I just said finally, but finally meet you guys in person. Well, as person as we can be. Now, it's funny thing here is that we're all based out of the same state, which is kind of weird, kind of cool. But if you think about the vast world of cryptocurrency and where we are literally in a couple hours drive of each other, which is amazing, right? So I want to start it off with, a couple of little minor things, but I wanted to get into getting to know a little bit about you, not like personal details, like what you ate this morning, but more or less along the lines of like, let's talk about how did you get into, like what brought you to, let's say XRP, but what brought you to crypto in general? And I think I want to start with Coining123. So tell us what brought you to this universe? When did that start?
So, first of all, hello universe, hi crypto universe. It feels good to be around people that validates that I'm not crazy. I'm not.
Well, you might be. I can't validate that. You may be crazy, but we can't go there. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So crypto and this entire universe started for me around 2016, mid 2016. I was in a bar in the Middle East. I used to live in Dubai. And I walk into a bar and my buddy's there, and he's like, "Hey man, you got to buy this thing called Bitcoin and XRP and Ripple." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "It's another."
Wait a minute. Hang on a second. Let's back up a little bit. You walk into a bar, you hit your buddy up, and he's like, "You gotta." He hits you up with right away. You gotta buy this.
First thing he says is like, "You gotta buy this thing." He's like, "We're not gonna drink tonight unless you go on right now, log on and buy some, or wire me some money and buy some." I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about? It's like another scam, It's like, what are you talking about?" He's like, "No, trust me, you guys." He's like, "I put $100 grand into all of this." I'm like, "Huh? Wait a minute. What? Huh?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, Wolf of Wall Street." I'm like, "Show me you put $100 grand into this thing right now, and I'll buy some." Pulls up his account. He shows it to me. I'm like, "Well, I guess I can put $1,000 into this." Like, okay, cool. He's got a lot more skin in the game than me. So, and he's smarter. He's a mentor of mine. He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. So I start going down rabbit holes. Nice. And just, oh, wow. Okay, Bitcoin. Oh, Ethereum. Okay, XRP. Wow, this really does. Okay. And back then, it was like rocket science to buy cryptocurrencies because you gotta buy on Coinbase, then take it to another exchange, and then you got to use fractions of a Bitcoin to put a sell order or a buy order to buy, whatever coin is that you want to buy. And it was just like 2 weeks of trying to figure this all out. And I finally did, and it's just been life-changing ever since.
Wow, man, that is such a cool story.
Yeah, I want to know what bar in Dubai were you walking into?
Yeah, this is some serious stuff, man. Serious schnizzles. What the hell?
Yeah, so it was the Champions Bar in the JW Marriott in Dira.
The Champions Bar, Jeff. Is that appropriately titled or not? I mean, you imagine that you walk into Champions Bar, you get hit up, you just go all in. This is a cool story, man.
100% all in, man. That's awesome.
Holy
Do
cow,
you ever go to the Irish pub over near the tennis center in Dubai? You know where that is?
Probably. I'm not.
There are a couple Irish pubs over there.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's one on Sheikh Zayed that I used to go to a lot.
Yeah.
So, Anna, let me back it up a little bit. So what brought you to Dubai? Why were you in Dubai, if I could ask that? That's like the ultimate question people are wondering. Like, hey, By the way, how did you sort of end up in Dubai? What was that all about?
So I used to work for a company out there. I spent 8 years working in the Middle East. Used to, I graduated tech school, those charter schools that they teach you a trade school. And there was an apprenticeship in Kuwait. And I was like, I was 19. I didn't have nothing going for me. I'm like, you want to come to an apprenticeship in Kuwait? I'm like, yeah, sure. What are you paying? Like, we're paying you $50,000. I'm like, I'm 19. I got nothing else to lose. I got a check for $50,000. And so I spent my entire 20s in Kuwait.
Wow, that's amazing.
Dubai and, Qatar and Oman and Bahrain and all that area.
Wow, man. So you are our resident expert basically on the Middle East here. So that's pretty cool, man. Nice story. And Sergeant Obi Wan, tell us a little bit about you now. It seems to me that you have this affiliation, this affinity for Star Wars, but we'll get into that. Let's talk a little bit about your discovery, how did you come to crypto? What was the sort of the first time that you heard about crypto or actually purchased crypto?
I originally heard about crypto back in 09, 10, right when it was coming out.
OG, man. Holy.
Here we go.
Here we go. Back it up.
And my friend at the time said, you got to check this out. So I looked online. I said, this isn't for me. And I just let it go by the wayside for years and years and years until 2018. And a guy at work started talking about XRP and Bitcoin. I said, I heard about it before. And they explained it more to me. And I just got in on it. I just did the more research I did on it, the more excited I got about it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So go ahead, Jeff.
When I was going to say, what is XRP the first digital asset that you jumped into, or were you? Okay.
Yeah. When I first saw Bitcoin at the time back then in like 2010, 2009 to 11, it was like all you could do was just like, it was like one website you could go to and you could purchase stuff off there at the time. And now it's
a little scary too, right?
Yeah. So I wasn't in on all that at the time. And I wish going back now, what you always do is kick yourself in the ass when you could spend a couple $100 and been a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's insane. So tell us about this affiliation, because we know you online, Sergeant Obi-Wan. Talk a little bit about your affiliation with Star Wars. Obviously, what was the first time you came to Star Wars? How did it blow your mind?
I was 7 years old. My dad took me the first time to see it.
Nice.
And it just blew me away. I always loved it. The sergeant comes into part. I was a police officer for 20 years, retired. So that's where I started as a sergeant.
That's awesome.
So that's how I got Sergeant Obi-Wan.
So the story comes together, man. Look at how much we're learning right off the bat, man. This is some good stuff. Jeff, I don't have a great story like that. These are two good stories. I think that, when I hear stuff like that, however, when I think about Star Wars too, it's the whole Star Wars universe. If you think about it, it was a movie. It was a mind-blowing movie back in 1977. Was pretty cool. Now, I had the good fortune of working with Mark Hamill for five and a half years on a show called .com, which you're on CNBC back in the day. And, it was a little show we were doing, back in the day. So for me, when I was on set, I was a creative director on that particular project, behind the scenes doing stuff. Now, when between takes, they're doing the lines or running the stuff. Now, .com was a show all about the internet, right? It's so funny how the parallels of the internet and cryptocurrencies sort of very similar. They have a similar sort of a path. And I would just sit there and wait and wonder, is Mark going to talk? He would be like, no, man, I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to get into Star Wars and this and that. But between takes, he did. So I would sit there, and the sad part of this is I usually had a little tape. I'd run it in the background. I'd run a little camera. And who knows what happened to that thing? Nobody knows what happened to the tape. But anyway, he would tell stories about being on set. And it was, to me, that little kid inside of me would be like just yelling, screaming, like, damn, I love this stuff. And it's cool to see the resurgence, what's happening. Are you also into Disney streaming? Like, have you been watching the?
Oh yeah, Mandalorian, awesome
Mandalorian.
show.
Now, what's your review? I know it's a little bit off topic, but without giving away spoilers, but what's your review on that? Do you like it? Is it interesting?
Oh yeah, it gets in, like the bounty hunter side of it. It reminds me of more like a space western. That you get that feeling. That's how it is for me.
Nice. So more of like a Western. But I mean, is it, does it belong in the universe? I mean,
most definitely. It tells a story of, where the Mandalorians basically came from and how their guild is.
Oh, nice. And I'm curious that if we let's move on. There's a lot of cool, Jeff, there's a lot of good news happening this week. Why don't you?
There's a lot of great things. And I want to sidestep and talk about, taking it from the bounty hunter approach and, good versus bad. But I think it's really interesting. And this is an interesting segue.com stuff. Just a quick plug. We're doing an interview with John McAfee coming up here that we're planning on premiering midweek. So that's just a little plug, thinking about some .com stuff.
Nice drop, nice name drop. I love that.
Thank you. But in terms of this good versus bad, I want to drop another name, Craig Wright. Okay. And the reason why I want to do that, I want to see some interesting reaction to that. I think the most interesting is that we've been tracking this ridiculous court hearing, media coverage of Craig, pretending to be Satoshi Nakamoto or making those big claims. The court, gave him an extension to deliver certain keys and release, some of the funds that are tied up there that have been since 2009, 2010. And he's supposed to gain access. So he goes, I have the keys, and there's going to be, some shady, whatever character that's supposed to deliver them to me. I don't know. And he says, okay, I got them. And now it turns out he doesn't have them. So it's just like the saga keeps continuing. What do you guys think about that? I think it's just so comical, but I can't imagine someone putting themselves out on the line like that. Like, why would you, I don't know, reputation, all that. What do you think, Coining? I mean, it's hilarious.
I mean, he's getting what he wants. We're talking about him. He wants people to talk about him. He's getting publicity out of it. He's getting his name out there. He's getting, his coin out there. He's getting attention. I think, people will do anything for attention. And my only question to everyone is do we really want to know who Satoshi is?
Yeah,
solid
that's a good
question.
One. What do you think, Sergeant?
Do you
want to know who Satoshi is?
No. Keep him in the shadows just like he is now. Keeps the suspense going. Keeps everybody guessing, and you're always going to think about the crypto. As far as Craig Wright, I think he's just the entertainment sideshow.
Yeah,
that's a good one. But his BSV has been pumping.
Oh yeah, you can't doubt that. And it's just weird how the differences in between coins are. You got XRP, who's got all the utility and all that, and then the BSV is you don't hear anything about utility with them.
None. What do you think, Chip?
I think a lot of things. I'll be honest with you, Jeff. But this whole thing with when I think about Bitcoin, I came into it pretty early, 2013. But mine, surprisingly enough, I've talked about this a couple of times, was about the delivery method. Had a startup back in the day and had a partner over in the UK. And when he's like, how are you going to get me this money? We got to, and that's how he sent it to me, was Bitcoin. That's how my first entry into it. But when I think about Bitcoin, I think about, and who is really Satoshi? Now, when you think about how groundbreaking it is, right? The whole idea of the digital asset and laying everything out, my mind has to go back to, when I look at Craig Wright, it's like, Sergeant Obi Wan has it right. A sideshow, right? Almost like a freak sideshow, right? It's like, who is this character? Do we really care? But laying the groundwork and really, one of the things that I love so much about Bitcoin and this whole idea we fall into tribalism is that when you think about Bitcoin, it really was the first. It laid the way, it laid the path. And now we look back, we're like, we're 11 years in. Yeah, Bitcoin, we look at the charts and there's like thousands of digital assets, right? When we look at them, we think to ourselves, hey, where did this all start? And it's easy. You know, there's an old saying that says, you know, never forget the man who dug the well. And the one that dug the well here was something called Bitcoin. And who cares who really Satoshi is? I mean, it could be David Schwartz. Who knows? I mean, you know, what we do know, and I wanted to go to coining on this one, but what we do know is, like, tell us the difference of the new coin, especially with an XRP. You know, what kind of value and what kind of value is being delivered from the first to where we are at XRP right now. And also, I want you to talk a little bit about some TA as well, which you do a really great job of. Where are we today, and what are you seeing upcoming?
Okay, my TA is not that good, but I'll try it.
Dude, we are relying heavily on your TA.
No, you know, Bitcoin is, you know, it's the first coin I ever purchased, and it's, you know, I still have some, and I'll always have some Bitcoin because, you know, it paved the way for everyone else. You know, you don't ever put that down. But you have, like you said, you have all these other coins, and you look at the coin. So you research a coin. I want to look at the coin, what it does, but also the team behind it. Who's working towards making this coin successful? You know, tell me which coin has people on the news or mainstream media or communicating with the community on Twitter or whatever platform they want to use. What I see happening is mass adoption is going to start very, very soon if it hasn't already. We're going to see a lot of people start to come in. I got people texting me yesterday, about 5 people texting me. He's like, hey, what's this? How do I buy the Bitcoin thing you're telling me about? And it's just going to start. And for me living overseas for so many years, I always had a problem. I had to get money from either Dubai to the US or Dubai to Dominican Republic, or somewhere in the Middle East, Dominican Republic. And man, I paid a lot of money in fees. There was times where I'd send money on a Friday or a Saturday, and if I didn't want to pay extra, I'd have to wait, 3 days for my family to get my money. I used to take care of I still take care of my grandmother, her medication and whatnot. So I'm like, man, if there was a way that I can get money from point A to point B fast and safe and secure, then I would totally use it and not be charged $30 for a fee. So that's where I come in, and that's where I look at XRP like, okay, this is a coin that, and for me, it's going to work and change my life. So this is what I'm going to go with. But there's a lot of things happening this month, next month. I mean, I saw an article last night, a letter from the White House saying digital currency in it.
A lot. Even the we're listening to the new head of the Fed and some of the things that she was talking about with the gold standard, and there were a lot of little points being dropped, which were interesting. I want to take this thought process. I want to just a sidestep, a little segue, because I think it's important. We're looking at you're talking about what the potential of XRP, the potential what Ripple is doing to change your life personally, not just from the investment perspective, but through digital asset to be able to send money, to family members, which is what that, we all talk about that, being able to do that fast, with transparency and as cheap as possible. We know that, Ripple has a big stake now in MoneyGram, which is one of the primary channels to be able to move money like that. But what's really interesting right now, and I think kind of a critical point, because we're seeing some news dropping on this, and there was an article just yesterday about this court case that Ripple is going through, and one of the headline was, that, and this is I believe coming out of Ripple, but one of the statements to the court, that if XRP is deemed a security, what the impact could potentially be on a lot of investors. But I want to get Sergeant Obi Wan's opinion and comments on this, because you actually reached out to the court right after the session the other day and got some feedback. Kudos to you for doing that. Because it's amazing to have people in the community again. We don't have typical old school media doing this kind of research. And it's up to all of us. So kudos for you to reaching out and making sure that we're highly informed on things like this. But let's get some of your feedback on that.
Yeah, the case was coming out, and I just called the clerk's office and asked, what the status of the case was. Everybody was just waiting, and I knew it would be a while before they actually posted it. And I just called. That's what they said. It just got postponed until the judge can decide further on the case.
Yeah, and what do you think that means? I mean, what do you think the ramification of this delay is?
With the SEC, or even if it's deemed security, it's going to slow it down a little bit. But in the long-term goal, I watched on Glenn Hutchinson the other day, and he basically told Jay Clayton, it doesn't matter what you all do. It's coming. One way or the other, this is coming. And there's nothing the SEC can do to stop it because it's a global thing. It's not just the United States involved in this. This is going to be a global currency thing where cross-border remittances all over the world. Yeah. So I think it might slow it down initially if it's a security, but long term, I don't think it's going to hurt what XRP's goals are. Right.
So, and that's the question is whether or not it really is a security. Everything leading up to it, it doesn't appear to be a security.
No.
Even if this judge decides in one way, it's still going to be elevated to the next court potentially.
Oh yeah.
So it could be tied up for a long time. Now, on the other side of it, if the judge does give judgment on this and it's deemed to not be a security, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because does that open up, is that the final acknowledgement, for XRP? I was listening to Ivan on Tech earlier, and he was doing his commentary on the fact that the whole market's moving, Bitcoin's moving, Bitcoin was about to go over 9,000, kind of touching that point. And he said, but XRP is not moving. And he said, then the XRP army communities are up in arms and upset about the fact it's not moving. To me, I don't really care at this point. I'm okay with it being, settled. I just want to get some clarity and just finalize the fact that it's not a security. I think is important for the whole space. But again, it goes back to what we were just talking about, that Ripple is utilizing XRP. R3 is utilizing XRP in their solutions. And there's very few other digital assets that are actually being utilized in real world type utility. Do you think that's going to have an impact, Sergeant? I mean, is that going to be, is the court case holding that up? Does that, all of that, the utility supersede, or, is it bigger than that court case?
I think it's going to be bigger. I think as far as the ramifications of the clarity, I think it's just going to relieve the investors' mind, the retail investors. But I think long term, everybody sees the potential in XRP, what it's going to do as far as where it's going to go and be the crossover fiat for the big four companies, or four, not companies, but four exchanges. I think it's just a relief on the investor's mind if it is deemed not a security. But long term, I don't think it's going to have an effect, because I think it's just, we're going to wake up one day and it's going to be up there in double digits or even triple digits overnight. I don't think it really, for me personally, I don't think it has one bearing on this or the other about how it's all going to be good for us down the road.
Yeah. Now, if you take a snapshot back, Coining, and the fact that you analyze from the TA perspective, and if you were to pull the chart back, and be able to look at the full picture from the beginning of XRP till now, you're still seeing that it's up. It's not down, right? I mean, from initiation, from its all-time low till today, it's still up a significant percentage. So although we touched in 2017, we touched an all-time high and it retraced itself. We're sitting at a point today that basically it's where I got in, back in 2017. That's where I started researching XRP, and I saw it. And to me, it's an interesting way of looking at it, don't you? I mean, we're not really at a loss unless you got in at the all-time high. But XRP isn't losing ground in the grander scheme of things.
I mean, I remember when I first got in, it was, sub a penny at one point. So and I don't get stuck on numbers. I don't get stuck on saying, hey, it's up Bitcoin's up $100 or XRP's up 5 cents or 10 cents. Look at percentage. To have something go up 10% in through 2-3 days there's people that wait years for 10%, and the market is evolving. We're going through that. We went through this 2-year lull of just sideways and down and, just negativity, people capitulating. It just, I think it's all coming to an end. And we're going to see a lot of coins go up. Not just Bitcoin, not just XRP, not just Ethereum. We're going to see, your BSVs go up 100% in a day. But that's part of the market, right? There's people in here who are in here for the technology, but there's people in here who are in here for the profit. They don't care about a coin. They don't care about, what the coin is doing. They just care about, hey, how much can I get out of this thing? So I think a lot of emotions play into this market. There's a lot of people who, they're XRP maximalist, or they're Bitcoin maximalist, or they're Ethereum whatever it is. And they get that emotional attachment to an asset. But in reality, it's just an investment. You can have some emotional attachment to an investment, but not a lot. But that is now it's showing. Look at the sentiment on Twitter when XRP or Bitcoin or whatever is going up. Everybody's, oh, it's just the beginning. And then you have your other side of, oh no, it's going to crash. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. But then you look when the market does go crash, you have people, I just stay away from Twitter when the market's going down. And that plays into a lot of what happens next. And then we're seeing cryptocurrencies, digital assets taken to an environment where we've never been before. We're going to places. It's just, I've never thought that I didn't even know what a Federal Reserve was before I got into all this. So,
and that's amazing. I see people learning things and talking about things that they never would have touched on. This space to me is super meaningful because it's brought, like you just said, you never, really heard about the Federal Reserve or, got involved in it from that perspective. It's opened people's eyes that, I don't know, we were talking about baseball earlier, where, and I've heard this from a lot of people. I would have been watching basketball, baseball, football. I wouldn't spend all my time, researching digital assets. And I think that's amazing. I think about what I was doing before that, I mean, from a political perspective and all of that, I was actively involved. From a financial perspective, I've invested, that's me, that's just who I am. But the people that I've been able to talk to and to get involved, I think it's amazing because it's actively involving so many people from a financial perspective, a growth perspective, understanding it. And you're doing, you're into TA, that to me is still a little bit foreign on the digital asset side. I tried to dabble in it a little bit on the stock side, and it was just, more than what I wanted to get involved in. How did that growth for you, when getting into TA and try to analyze things, what is that? What does that mean to you?
At first I wouldn't. So what happened to me was, and I'll tell you what got me really into TA, and trying to learn TA and trying to understand to a granular level what's going on in the market. XRP was at $4. At $3.84, Bitcoin was up there. My portfolio was about the size of I've never seen before. It was more money than I've ever could have imagined. And I was going off of what people would say, I didn't even know Twitter at the time. I was going off of what people were saying on Facebook and people were saying on Reddit. That was where I got my information from.
Wait a minute, hang on a second. Let me interrupt you there. So you didn't get your information like I did from a cartoon bear? I mean, because I'll be honest with you, you know, Variable Guy 123, that BG 123 is where I got my information from. Are you saying that you relied on other information?
Well, yeah. I mean, the bear, I know him. He's cool. He's a cool guy. Yeah. So I got, and then I was like, everything started going down. So I wanted to understand why it was going down and what could I have done differently that I didn't lose all this money that I should have had. So that's what got me into it. I was like, okay, now I have to understand the technicals about this. Like, why is this? What affects the market? I'm going to be able to look at it and understand it's going to continue to go up a little bit. It's going to continue to go down. And then it's tough to do with crypto, believe it or not. TA is very tough to do with crypto. Anybody that tells you my TA is good with crypto, it's hard because, like I said earlier, there's a lot of emotional players in the game, and there's a lot of emotional investors. So, and there's a lot of manipulation going on in whales and whatnot. So, TA will work to a certain point, and then you just gotta go with your gut.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know, for me, TA has been. I think we'll get there on TA too. I mean, right now you're right because of the manipulation we see. It's a little bit tough, but you know, there are some parallels, and you know, I always admire anybody that does TA. I look at that and I go like, what in the heck is going on? I wanted to get into a question here with Sergeant Obi Wan. So given your background, I mean, I hope we can talk about that here a little bit here, but given your background, what kind of parallels can you draw between you know the career, if you want to talk about it, if you don't want to talk about it, but your career and how we kind of see and how we govern like what's going on with cryptocurrencies? Do you see any parallels there as far as like when we look at the rule of law?
As far as parallels with the job as a police officer, it was, I guess the law aspect, like more clarity. When more clarity comes out, you got to, you know, as far as law goes, you have a black and a white area, white and black area, and then there's a gray area in the middle. And I think right now, digital assets are all in that gray area. We don't know one way or the other right now. I mean, me personally, I know that it's going to be in the good area down the road. It just takes time for it to roll over to that side.
Well, let's hang on a second. Let's dive a little bit deeper in that. Let's go down the road of, so if you kind of looked at some Star Wars characters, what characters would we see? Now, if you had to identify some characters as, let's say like, who is Bitcoin in the Star Wars universe? You know, Ethereum, XRP, like who are these characters in there? Could you like name them, or can we mini workshop this? Can we do a mini workshop right now on that? Do we know? I
guess if like BSV with Craig Wright would probably be like Darth Vader, maybe.
That's awesome.
As far as XRP goes, I guess XRP would be like the Force.
The Jedi, right, man?
Yeah, the Jedi Order.
That's nice, man. And then what
it's
about?
It's going to be scary when Craig Wright comes to XRP and says, "I am your father."
See, there's a lot of.
It's appropriate, Jeff.
There's a lot of parodies there.
Luke, I am your father. But it's an appropriate statement, though. I mean, but it doesn't matter at that point, right? That's awesome. Yeah. And then let's drill down. Let's go on the. Let's look at any charts and let's CoinGecko. Let's look at who's 4,271. Who is that right now? Brad Garlinghouse came out with an interesting statement. Coining, I wanted to talk about this. He came out and said that most, 99. He's pretty confident 99% of the digital assets will fail. Like, is he spot on about that, or is he a little bit? What's your take on that statement?
So I think he's spot on, and I'm not just agreeing with him because he's Brad Garlinghouse or I'm a rip.
You are. I'm sure that you are.
No. It goes to what I said earlier. It's show me the teams behind these cryptocurrencies. There's about 2,000, maybe 3,000 cryptocurrencies out there. Show me the team. Show me who has, offices in DC. Show me who has offices in America. or in Europe, or, you know, who has who has a real office, who has a real development team. Show me, out of all these cryptocurrencies, show me who has people, who has a team actually working towards making this better. You know, I see all the time, you know, these coins go up 9,000% a day, but they're on one exchange. You know, it's not there for me, man. I just want to, we're going to see a lot of people disappear because they can't hang. Just can't hang. You know, I know people who are developing cryptocurrencies out of the Dominican Republic, and I tell them straight up, I'm like, hey, you guys are my you know, my people. You want to do this right. You know, have a development team, you know, have a marketing team, you know, put a team together and then go this way. You know, don't try to hype up your coin and just, you know, make money off of it. And
that's a great comment.
People are just trying to make money off of coins and off of people who don't know any better.
Yeah, that's a great comment. You know, and Chip and I have been working on a project that at some point will come out. But as we're doing research, that's the perfect statement. We've found some projects out there that seem to have utility, but don't necessarily fit, you know, the full use case. And when you look at their coin, their digital asset, their token, there's no movement. You know, there's no volume movement. You know, we found one in a 24-hour period, it might have moved about $200. You know, one that hasn't seen any movement in who knows how long. You know, and those are the ones that are going to fade out, and you question, you know, what they're building. You know, we also see a lot of projects out there that are trying to solve solutions that don't have problems, you know, or they're inventing solutions to, you know, and that's interesting. You know, blockchain is amazing. Blockchain is going to change a lot of things around us. The internet will definitely change in terms of functionality due to blockchain, but that doesn't mean that blockchain is appropriate for everything at this point in time. You know, what do you think about that? Is that?
No, you're spot on. There's things that, you know, the blockchain is going to help on, but there's things that it's just not there yet. You know, it's like you have cryptocurrencies that'll come out. You know, they don't solve anything. They don't do anything. You know, they're just there to, you know, it's cool to have, you know, Coin203. And it's not really there. But let's look at cryptocurrencies that actually are going to do something to change the world. Are going to do something to help people. Because at the end of the day, you know, for me in my situation, I want to help as many people as possible. And that's why I'm doing my blogs and why I'm doing these interviews and whatnot. And it's just, if your cryptocurrency is not helping others solve an issue, then you're not. Don't do it. And that's not a message to you guys. That's just a message to everyone in the world. I mean, just don't do it. You know, because
be careful with a cryptocurrency without a project that has real world utility. You know, otherwise your cryptocurrency is obvious that you're trying to develop it just strictly to try to take advantage and make money off of it, and that's not the reality. It's not going to happen. It's that people aren't going to create another Bitcoin at this point. You know, that time is come and gone. You know, now it's about utility.
Just look at how many forks does Bitcoin have? Sorry. Just answer that. How many forks does Bitcoin have?
I don't know. There's a lot. Yeah,
a lot of that. But let's be honest. I mean, look, if there is a Star Wars coin, or you know, let's say there's an Obi Wan or whatever, if we get a coin like that, you know, I mean, I might be okay with it not having a utility. You know what I mean? I might be okay. I might be like,
just gonna buy it for name recognition.
People are,
you know what I'm saying?
People are gonna buy it exactly.
Right.
It's like a collector's item. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like something fun. You know what I mean? Like, let's say they come out with a. You know, with like a Batman coin. I'm like, I'm all in on the Batman coin, because I mean, the whole reason I came to this space was because a little cartoon bear told me to, and said like, put your money in this and a Riddler. I mean, that was one of the reasons that I came. I was like, hey, you know, and this is what I ask of other projects. I'm like, I understand the whole idea of utility, but if you don't have a good representative, if you don't have like, you know, like a cartoon Yeti, or some sort of a bear or a giraffe or something like that, I'm not in. I don't care about your project too much. I mean, let's be honest, right?
If you
where
had
am I
Baby
going
Yoda
wrong
right now,
What's that?
if you had a Baby Yoda right now, you'd be on fire.
If Baby Yoda is lighting it up on Instagram and everywhere, man, on TikTok. I mean, it's crazy. Anything with Baby
That's
Yoda,
hilarious.
and you're right about that, because there is a moment in time, right? There's a little snapshot. You get that chance, like, yeah, we're all in. Let's do this thing.
Yep.
I wonder, Sergeant Obi-Wan, if we're moving forward into the future, right? Where do you really see this mass adoption happen? Like, where are we going from here? Where do you see, when I say mass adoption, it's like right now we have I think it's a half of a percent of the entire world's population that even knows what cryptocurrency is. But where do you see the next 3 to 5 years?
That's where I see the momentum building. It's not the short term, like even this year. I mean, I think this year is going to be the year of digital asset, but I think long term, 3 to 5 years is where we want to be, where you're going to see the most bang for your buck, let's say. Like I said, I think everybody's frustrated. I see it all the time. People are just down and frustrated because the price isn't up there. We've been in this bear market so long, but that's part of the game with a new asset class. This is brand new. Like digital asset investor always said, hasn't happened since the 1600s. So, I mean, long term down the road with the utility and everything, I see everything. I mean, everything being tokenized across the board. We're going to be able to, put value on everything through a digital asset. It's just unbelievable what stuff, like, I look at real estate. Real estate's going to be a big thing in the future, I think, as far as cutting out the middlemen and stuff. You won't need a lawyer anymore. You won't need a real estate agent. You'll be your own real estate agent, and you'll be settling your property in seconds. I mean,
wait a minute. You just panicked every attorney in the across the land. When you say you don't need an attorney anymore, everyone's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, wait a minute.
It's like, wait a minute. Well, what are you talking about? It's like, but you're right. I think you're onto something there. So,
yeah.
When we talk about smart contracts and stuff that is on the blockchain, I look at the time when government, so I want to go to coining with this one. What do you think about how fearful is the government of digital assets, and more so the blockchain, where everything is indelible, right? It's there. It's sort of, it's permanent. Where do you see the governments? Why are they so afraid of what's going on with this crypto movement?
Governments, most governments are reactive instead of proactive. Saying that is the governments are embracing the technology. Believe it or not, there's a lot of government people who are trying to get blockchain monitoring services, blockchain, data analysis, and then they understand that we got to advance. The U.S. cannot be left behind. The U.S. government, I'm talking about them, can't be left behind. You see other countries already making the regulations, already providing a path for the blockchain industry, the cryptocurrency, everything to have its own lane, so to say. Let's say IRS, I don't think we're ever going to get some kind of clear guidance from the IRS or any type of break from them. They're going to do what they got to do. The actual, federal government, we may see some tokenization within the government. They're gonna see other countries doing it, and they don't want to get left behind. So we're gonna get there. And look at Europe, and look at the Central Bank of Europe. Look at what they're doing. Look at the UK. They already clarified that XRP is not a security, if I'm not mistaken. So the U.S. government is going to look at all these other players. Look at all the money that's going to Singapore. All the companies that are leaving the U.S. going to other countries because they want to work in the blockchain industry, but there's no yet clear guidance from the government if they can do it here or how they're going to tax it or all that. So the U.S. government is going to be is going to react and is reacting to this because we're seeing now, digital currencies, digital assets being more and more talked about within government. There was last year, there was like 10 different talks about digital assets. They had Jay Clayton and you had Brad Garlinghouse in the same building. And then you had people talking about cryptocurrency. So we're going to get there. The U.S. government's going to get there. We just don't know when or how dramatic they're going to be about it.
You're right, Coin. We do not know when. I think that's what really kicks everybody, pretty hard. It's like, where's the when? Jeff, what else? I mean, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark here. What else is going on in the crypto space?
Right, but yeah, we're about 40 minutes in. But so
40 minutes an hour. Close.
So yeah, I think there's so much going on. You guys are bringing up so many interesting points, and it seems to be a common theme. We end up talking about a lot of this stuff, and digging in and government. It's interesting, and we bring this up every time, but government is so misaligned right now, and there's a battle going on from the, I don't want to call them mainstream. I don't know why I'm trying to think of the right terminology for these guys. Let's call them lifers. So you've got these elected officials, because some of them, I believe, although they might have been elected, they're in, hey, look at this.
Special guest. Sorry. I got bombarded by a special guest.
That's awesome. Oh my God.
Nice.
Look at that, Bo. Look how cute. Oh my God.
She gets her first interview.
Right? That's awesome.
Damn, she's
how old is she?
She's 7 months. Sorry about that.
Oh my God.
Well, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Man. That's great.
She woke up saying dada, so my wife just passed.
Oh man, that's so awesome.
Cute, man.
Hey.
Look at her stealing the camera. All right, it's over, guys. The show's over.
That's it. Look at that. Oh my God.
Look
baby,
at that.
Baby Yoda made its appearance.
Baby Yoda made its appearance.
That's awesome. So yeah, going to, we're seeing, government is really very self-serving, overall, in terms of our elected officials. One of the common themes that's been going on for way too long is that government, these elected officials believe that we are subservient to them. And, going and speaking with congressional representatives and senators, Congress people, and years ago, when I was in college, I was part of a lobbying organization, and we'd go to Washington and meet with them, and they were so pompous. They were jackasses, every single one of them. I was actually coming out of grad school. I was offered a job with a senator, and I turned him down. And I said, "There's no way in hell I'm going to work for you." And it just, our politics didn't align.
So you're not going to name drop that, Jeff? Is that?
I'm not going to. No.
Okay.
Yeah,
just checking.
He's
man.
not in office anymore, but
that might be all the reason the name drop then,
Right. There were two brothers. One was in Congress, one was in Senate, and they were in Michigan.
Okay,
you might be able to look that up.
Yeah.
And so they were, and so I had this exposure to that, and then. Even working here, over the years, and then working here locally to help support different representatives, and you just see all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, to keep people in office, to get people elected, and then you look at them and you're like, you go to Washington.
Jeff, hang on a second. We lost Coin. He's out. He's gone.
No, you're good. I'm listening. I just have to turn
I understand.
And and these guys are so self-serving. They're just there to enrich themselves. And now we, the latest here, we have the Financial Services Committee that's had the Token Taxonomy Act sitting on a desk somewhere buried, who knows how many, papers deep at this point. It's been presented twice. In front of the Financial Services Committee. There's been a lot of discussion on it. Libra was pulled in front of Congress. Facebook pulled in front of Congress. There's hearings on it, discussion on it. There's this huge opportunity to open the doors. And then it all goes back to, the self-serving political ideologies of the representatives in Congress that really only care about their own political agenda and could give a crap about the economy of this country. And I think that's one of the major obstacles in the United States right now, where we're not getting regulatory clarity, and at the same point allowing the IRS to try to come up with some sort of a they can't pass regulation. They can only give opinion. And so the IRS is trying to work with laws that are so outdated. And so, the U.S. is slowly and maybe rapidly say losing ground. Coining, you just brought it up to what's going on in other countries. And that's the travesty, is that we need to somehow overcome this. And it's really up to us. I firmly believe that. I've said it for a long time. We're the ones who put our elected officials in office. We're the ones that have the power to remove them. As a digital asset community at large, I think we all need to do a lot of soul searching and say, if this country is going to take leadership in the digital asset community, it's up to the community at large, those that are investing in digital asset and those who are building in digital asset and blockchain, to take a stand against these government officials, say we need regulatory clarity. It's not just up to Ripple to try to make it happen. It's up to all of us. And you know what, guys, if you're going to be in office and you're not going to do anything, then we want to remove you. We don't want you in office representing our interest anymore. You guys are in a unique position where you're located because you have Darren Soto in your backyard, and he is one of the authors of the Token Taxonomy Act. Now, to me, that would be an amazing outreach to go knocking on his door and his office, say, hey, what do you need from us? We have a community of tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands of people that we can tap into, globally, but tens of thousands at least on the ground in the United States. How can we help you further your plans? What do you guys think about that? Is that a worthwhile initiative?
Yeah, no, and I just looked up his Twitter. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to see if I can reach out to him. He's got a couple events going on. I'm going to just, show up. He's got a thing for Puerto Rico happening today, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to drive by and see what's up. But I agree with you 100%. I got to be careful how I tread here. I tread carefully.
There's no careful on this show, man. We step in it, we bathe in it. We it's like whatever, man. Don't worry, man. Just let it out.
My thing is it Bitcoin or Bitcom?
I think it's Bitcom. We want some Bitcom.
Depends if you're Maxine or not. It's like that's why we have to have some. So look at this, guys. While we're sitting here talking about, while Jeff was talking about this, I pull up. This is no joke. I pull up the U.S. House Committee on Financial Services, right? So this is their actual statement that they say they want to, this is what they've done. They want to talk about their successes in 2019. And during the 116th Congress, my colleagues and I have made great strides in our efforts to protect consumers and investors of abusive financial practices. I'm going to stop it right there. Basically, there's a whole paragraph of buzzwords and make you feel good or complicated that basically says we did nothing. We did nothing. We're going to talk really cool. We're going to throw some words together. When we talk about lawyer, we're going to lawyer it up. We're going to make it sound pretty. It looks like it's written by a lawyer. You get like 2 sentences in, you're like already half asleep. This is what happens when we have, what successes. What I'm thinking about successes is you start listing the successes, not a complicated paragraph about what you've done and how you're protecting and how you're helping. And I think this is really, where we've sort of become when we look at the world at large. There's the doers and there's the people watching, what's going on. There's that whole sort of people taking a step back and looking at stuff. And I think when we look at the crypto community, at this point, we got to say thank you to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is what brought us here, right? And somebody heard about Bitcoin. It's like funny. I got to be honest with you. My mom calls me up and she's like, there's this new cryptocurrency, or I heard about the. Anytime she hears the word cryptocurrency or digital asset, she texts me or she sends me the article. And it's funny because the only reason she does that is because she knows that I'm into it. But if we know people in the space like Coin, not everybody has the option to walk into a bar in Dubai and say, if you don't do this, man, I'm tackling you by the time you get to the door. So, I mean, luckily you have a mentor, somebody looking out for you. if you happen to come to it, because we've all heard the reverse stories, right? A lot of people out there, they've heard well, I knew a guy and he lost his ass in cryptocurrency and he went all in and this and that happened. So there's also a negative connotation. But Sergeant Obi Wan, like if we look at, let's take a look at Ripple and the future of Ripple. If you had to sum up 2019, what are like 3 key points or key takeaways that you would look at 2019, and let's contrast that with what you think 2020 is going to be about?
2019 definitely had the bear market. I think 2020 is going to be an upswing. I think we're going to see a lot more green days than red. As far as regulatory clarity, I think it's going to come this year. I think next week we got President Trump going to Davos. He didn't go there yet last year, but I don't think he did. But I think you're going to see, especially if Christine Lagarde's got some big announcement she's getting ready to make about how we're going forward, I think, with levels of what digital assets are going to be and how they're going to be used. So
what do you think the announcement's going to be? What do you expect? I mean, I'm not telling you to nail it, but speculate a little bit here.
I think it's going to be a guideline of how she wants to go forward with digital assets. I think it's going to be. I think you're going to have some kind of framework of what she wants to follow through as the direction she wants to go in. Because she's looks like she's taken the force of it and going with it.
Nice. And Coining, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen in this whole thing? I mean, do you see something good coming out of this potential announcement? We've heard a lot about it in the community. So,
yes, I'd say that strongly because, like I said earlier, the White House released a statement that says digital currency on it, and they're going to be talking about that at Davos and whatever else is going on. But I think 2020 is going to be a year of a lot of massive change. We're going to see, where it's not only a new year, it's a new decade. So let's start it off right, man.
Well, some think it's not a new decade. Some think it starts next year. So I don't know if you heard that whole
2020. It's I got to change the one change to the two now, right? So
yeah, I'm with you, man, on that whole
thing. For me, it's a new decade, man. I don't, exactly. I don't. Yeah.
And to most of us.
So I think so it's like, is the Earth flat too? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Chip, I don't know what people you're talking to.
There's a lot of proof on that, though. We have flat earthers. The Earth might be flat. I mean, we have no.
It's just a big flashlight in the sky.
I'll just go, Jeff. We're coming up on an hour.
I wanted to get some last comments from you, Chip, and see. We'll wrap this up. I think this was an amazing conversation. Loved having you guys on. Definitely want to have you guys back on again. This was a great conversation. Didn't get through all the topics we wanted to talk about, but that's okay. That's why we'll have you guys back on again. Chip, any parting thought? And then we'll kind of go around the room. You got the 2020, so go ahead.
I'm excited about 2020 because I like when there's two numbers together that are the same. You know what I mean? It looks pretty cool. So you're 2020. I'm getting used to typing that. So I'm so used to the 2019, 2018. So it's a really good thing in that regard. And guys, one of the things I want to say is that you can learn more about what we're up to, what we do. If you go to onthechain.io, you'll see the contributors, but more so you'll see some of the other locations that we broadcast, and we're adding some new locations all the time. But what we're going to do in a few moments, we're going to do the after show. The after show is where we really let it loose. And we're going to do a few more minutes. We're going to run. That's exclusive on the Coil platform. If you look down below right there and you'll click on a link and boom, it'll jettison you instantly. It's amazing, this whole internet thing. It jettison you. You will be there, and also you'll be watching us talk and basically bloviate a little bit more about some of the stuff. That's my take, Jeff.
That's awesome. So I just want to thank you guys again. And we're going to see you guys here in a second on the after show. So everybody watching, follow Chip's advice and check us out on Coil. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Oh, thank you. Enjoyed it.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.